They said Rome was eternal. They were wrong. She made them kneel. Before the legions marched, there was the scent. The heavy, sweet, unmistakable aroma of frankincense and myrrh. It seeped into the very walls of Palmyra, a scent that was the heartbeat of the ancient world. This was not a Roman outpost. This was a crucible of culture, a crossroads where the East and West did not merely meet, they became one. Palmyra's wealth wasn't built on conquest, but on the sublime exchange of goods. The primary trade wasn't just spices. It was the resin, the sacred smoke that fueled temples from Rome to India. Its markets pulsed with life, a dazzling, chaotic symphony of color and sound. But beneath the vibrant textiles and the clinking gold lay a deeper power, intellectual authority. Zenobia, the princess, learned to wield more than just political influence. She became a polyglot, fluent in Greek, Latin, and Aramaic. This was not a domestic hobby, it was a strategic weapon. To speak the language of the legionary, the philosopher, and the merchant gave her an intellectual weight that rivaled any emperor's laurel wreath. Her mother, Cleopatra of Palmyra, laid the foundational groundwork, establishing the mercantile networking that allowed Zenobia's empire to blossom. The Temple of Bel, an architectural centerpiece, rises from this prosperity. Its massive, intricately carved limestone columns still echo with a sense of overwhelming, sacred grandeur. Looking at these structures, you don't see merely stone. You see the accumulated power of trade, the ambition of a dynasty. Yet, even in this golden age, a subtle tension exists. The Palmyran elite's luxurious clothing, embroidered with gold and silver thread and incorporating geometric patterns from Sasanian Persian art, signals a deep, intentional cultural syncretism. They are honoring the past, yes, but they are also broadcasting a message. We belong to no single master. This was the calm before the storm, the preparation in the golden crucible of Palmyra. Zenobia did not wait for the world to come to her. She struck. Her early military successes were not accidental. They were masterpieces of strategic deception and logistical genius. She mastered the Syrian desert. The Roman legions, accustomed to the green fields of Gaul, were unprepared for the vast, unforgiving heat. Their supply lines, built for paved roads and predictable terrain, broke down fast. Zenobia, however, commanded forces that utilized camel caravans capable of traversing the Syrian desert for distances exceeding 100 miles, entirely outside the established Roman network. This wasn't just transportation. It was an existential advantage. The desert itself became her ally. She watched the Roman soldiers, initially confident, become visibly disoriented, plagued by the blinding intensity of the sun and the inescapable heat. Her initial alliances with Roman client kings, often dismissed as signs of weakness, were in fact calculated necessities. They were intelligence-gathering missions, resource stockpiles, and strategic footholds, allowing her to gather the necessary power base before delivering the final, decisive blow. The air thickens with purpose. Zenobia's armies are not merely defending, they are expanding, taking Egypt, Mesopotamia, the breadbasket of the ancient world. The scale of this ambition is staggering. To maintain an army stretching from the Nile to the Tigris required a redirection of immense wealth, an estimated 15% of the entire Mediterranean trade tax. This was an empire, a grand, glittering challenge to the established order. She utilized the unique tactical superiority of local levies. While the Romans relied on the standard, reliable power of the pila, the Palmyran forces were equipped with composite bows and javelins. These weapons gave them superior range and a devastating rate of fire. It was a tactical mismatch writ large. And when the fighting began, Zenobia didn't just lead. She commanded the morale of her troops. According to historical accounts, she would command her forces to sing hymns in the local Aramaic dialect before battle. A psychological tactic designed to boost fierce confidence and utterly intimidate the foreign ranks of the Romans. The defiance she projected was so profound, so absolute, that historian Cassius Dio reportedly viewed her as a venomous serpent coiled around the throat of civilization. This was the moment the Golden Dream became a direct confrontation with the might of the Caesars. Zenobia did not just claim territory, she claimed divinity. Her ambition was visualized everywhere, most glaringly on her coinage and her banners. While the Roman standards fluttered with the militaristic, powerful eagle, Zenobia's forces marched under a distinctive banner featuring a stylized solar disk. This was not merely a flag. It was a declaration of independent, solar-given authority. Furthermore, when she minted her own currency, she didn't rely solely on Roman portraits. The coins often depicted her alongside powerful Hellenistic deities, Isis, Cybele, visually claiming divine legitimacy over the traditional Roman pantheon. Her court wasn't just a political center. It was an unrivaled intellectual hub. Libraries in Palmyra reportedly rivaled the famed Library of Alexandria in scholarly depth, attracting scholars from across continents. The visual contrast in the city was jarring. The vibrant, colorful, cosmopolitan life bustling within the city walls, set directly against the stark, disciplined, gray stone military camps of the Roman legions stationed just outside the gates. The air was thick with the smell of conflicting ideologies, the exotic, sweet smoke of burning incense fighting against the metallic tang of discipline and Roman discipline. The conflict was inevitable. Rome demanded submission. Zenobia offered only defiance, wrapped in silk and divine promise. The eventual siege by Emperor Aurelian was not simply a military engagement. It was a clash of civilizations, a visceral struggle for the soul of the Mediterranean. The initial stages were a grueling march. Capturing Alexandria, for instance, was a terrifying logistical feat, an 800-mile march across varied, hostile terrain that pushed the limits of 3rd-century engineering. The siege itself becomes a sensory nightmare. The defender's experience is dominated by the smell of burning pitch, thick dust, and the undeniable, coppery tang of blood. The tension mounts with every passing day. The great Temple of Bel, once a monument to her glory, becomes a focal point of desperate defense, its massive columns casting long, accusing shadows over the desperate defenders. The moment of peak drama is the final confrontation. Zenobia, possibly depicted in ceremonial, regal attire, stands facing the disciplined, weary, but unstoppable ranks of Aurelian's victorious legions. She is the embodiment of the defiance itself. Aurelian's approach is methodical, merciless. He does not fight merely a battle, he executes a symbolic erasure of an empire. She is cornered, surrounded by the weight of 2,000 years of Roman imperial might. The fate of the East, and perhaps the myth of eternal empire itself, hangs in the balance of her next breath. The final climax is a brutal collision of hubris and fate. Aurelian does not simply conquer Palmyra, he dismantles the legend. His legions, formidable and weary, finally breach the outer defenses. The battle is desperate, fueled by the intoxicating mix of incense-scented luxury and the desperation of survival. The ultimate confrontation is a theater of unimaginable tension. Aurelian's victory is not merely a tactical win. It is a psychological defeat. He systematically strips away the symbols of her power. The magnificent structures, once symbols of her divine mandate, now stand as monuments to her failure. The whispers of internal dissent, coupled with the sheer logistical impossibility of maintaining an army so vast and so far from reliable supply lines, begin to undermine the foundation of her rule. The Golden Age, built on sheer willpower and military might, begins to crumble under the weight of reality. The final moments are fraught with terrible drama. The sheer scale of the loss, the realization that the resistance is over, washes over the camp. The empire, however brilliant, was unsustainable. The inevitable curtain falls on the golden ambitions. The surviving remnants of the elite are left amidst the ruins of their magnificent dream. The curtain falls, leaving the earth to absorb the memory of an empire that burned brightly, briefly, and brilliantly. A testament to human ambition that defied the very laws of logistics and survival. The silence that follows the fighting is deafening, punctuated only by the cries of the wounded and the settling dust. The greatest vision, however magnificent, ultimately yielded to the unyielding march of time and reality. This was the end of the dazzling, golden era. The dust settles, and the world moves on, leaving the echoes of their challenge in the annals of history. The lesson, etched in the ruins, is that even the most dazzling empires are built upon sand, and the constant vigilance of history will eventually wash away even the grandest monuments of human endeavor. The dust settles, and the dust settles forevermore.